Today is the review event for Halo 4. It's the first time that we're letting the press primarily play the game. Of course, people with long leads need time to play it and time to think about it and time to write about it. And so we're giving them a couple of days here to play through it at their own pace, try out every single aspect of the game, including campaign, multiplayer, Spartan Ops, Forge, anything they want to play at their own pace.
Could you tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind some of the characters within this new Halo?
Yeah, I think the biggest change this time. I mean, we've introduced some new human characters that you'll encounter later in the game, and they also share the stage in Spartan Ops, which is our new episodic mode. But I think the primary new characters in the game are actually the new bad guys, the Prometheans. That one of the first decisions we made about the game when we were prototyping it is that we needed to introduce a new class of bad guys to bring some variety not only to the gameplay where you're actually encountering them in combat, but also to the sandbox. So they bring with them lots of new weapons and abilities that the Master Chief and of course multiplayer players get to try out.
Could you tell us a little bit about the weapons?
Yeah, the biggest, I mean, there are a few new weapons on the Covenant side, or at least variants of old weapons, but the biggest addition to the sandbox is the Promethean weapons, these Forerunner weapons. They're designed obviously to be balanced in combat with the human and Covenant weapons that people are used to, but they're pretty profoundly different in a number of ways. The most obvious, of course, is the aesthetics. They're sort of made of sleek metallic substance that forms to your physiology. So the first time you ever pick up one of these weapons, it actually forms around your hand and arm, as if it's kind of recognizing where your hand and thumb placement is, because they're primarily carried by ostensibly aliens in the game with completely different physiologies, including four-legged creatures. So it's pretty fun to see that happen in the game. In terms of their abilities, some of them are completely new. I would use the incineration cannon as an example of that, where it's a very different weapon than you've ever played with in Halo. But most of them are actually kind of new variants of existing types of weapons. So if you imagine you've got short, mid, and long range weapons, we have the scatter shot as kind of a Promethean shotgun. We have the light rifle, which is like a combination of the DMR and the battle rifle. And we have the bolt shot, which is like a kind of like the Covenant plasma pistol, but the charge effect, instead of being a plasma burst as it is in the old Halo games, is actually like a shotgun blast. So they all have different roles, and they're all designed to do different things, and they're all designed to marry pretty efficiently into the existing set of weapons, so the people who are picking them up for the first time at least have a basic idea of how they're going to function, and then they can figure out the subtleties of the differences as they get better.
Could you tell us a little bit about the inspiration behind the character design of the Prometheans?
Yeah, the Prometheans, the first aspect of their design was the story. We knew the story was that we wanted to tell, and then we let the designers figure out what they're supposed to be, how they're supposed to behave, how they're supposed to react in combat, and then kind of at least get started on the idea of what their silhouettes would look like, so the player can recognize them really quickly on the battlefield. But then the artists come in and they start to think about all these ingredients, and they start to think about the history of the Prometheans and the the mechanical data that we have about them that we sort of created for the fiction, and then the artists interpret that, and so they take all these ingredients and they kind of cook up this stew of what the Prometheans should look like, and then of course they have to work with the animators, and then design comes back into it, and it's this real collaborative process. It's not like one guy just sits down and draws it, and that's the bad guy. It has to come from the needs of the game and the sort of logic of the gameplay.
We've noticed that Master Chief has a couple of new abilities as well, primarily the battle armor. Could you go into a little bit of detail?
Yeah, the chief has an all new suite of armor abilities, and actually you can take those into the multiplayer experience. So you can carry those into the sort of traditional PvP multiplayer. There's a few examples. Most of them are coming from the Promethean technology, just like the weapons. There's the hard light shield, which is like a full length body shield that you hold in front of you, just like a very traditional hoplite or Spartan shield from Greek history. But you move slowly when you're carrying it. So it provides you protection front on, but it doesn't protect your rear or your flanks. And you move slowly, you rotate slowly, and of course you can't shoot until you drop it. So it's kind of it's powerful, but it's also fairly balanced. Another one that was initially controversial, but as people get used to it, is Promethean Vision, which allows you to effectively see through walls like a kind of X-ray mode. You can't just look through walls as if they were glass. However, it kind of passes out this wave, and it reveals things as it passes through, like almost like an MRI scan. And so it's an interesting trade-off between that and the motion detector, and it's really designed for people who don't necessarily have great situational awareness in combat and need that little bit of extra help to kind of figure out where they expect the bad guys or of course their friends to be hiding.